Hey everybody, Mike Toy, Bonsai Boise. This is my bushed bonsai, Ficus Benjamina 2.0. I got it in January of 2023, so almost a year ago. This is what it looked like when I first got it right here. It was this gigantic bush. I trimmed it back, ended up looking kind of like that. I've done a few updates on it since then, but just a quick look at some of the progress. This is how it looked in July of this year, 2023. I had it outside, just growing wild. It was nice and healthy there. I'm trying to get some buds to grow or to pop out kind of on that upper part of the trunk where it's bare. And I'll show you some of the methods I'm doing so far unsuccessfully. But so the following month after this, in August, I ended up doing an update video where I trimmed it up a bit. I'll show you the before and after pictures from August right here. So after I let it grow all summer, looked like that, trimmed back, looked like that. Also taped it up at the top part to try to fuse the top part of the trunk. Then a month after that, it grew out quite a bit again. It's pretty hard to see what's going on. You'll get a better look here in a few minutes, but this is after that trim in August. It just really bounced back strong. So I gave it another trim and I decided to do a couple things. So as you can see, I've got some branches that I sort of weaved in between those trunks and then I bound it with the plumber's tape. So the idea there is to get the trunks to fuse together, and some of those smaller branches with leaves, that's another way. It's kind of like grafting a branch basically, since it won't pop any leaves out on its own. At one point, I got the terrible idea to use zip ties to try and fuse it together. I came to my senses and got rid of those. So I trimmed it up again after that. Also, I had been doing an air layer earlier that day, and so I had some leftover, it's not sphagnum moss, I use coconut fiber. So I had some leftover coconut fiber still in a bucket. So I just used some, took a cutting that had some roots on it, and just stuck it in there, kind of a Hail Mary. It didn't work. I've been sticking cuttings down at the bottom just to help kind of close the gap. The long-term goal is to have this whole thing as one tree, fused together as one tree. There's that zip tie. I don't know what I was thinking there. Glad I remembered, took it off. So here it is today. So it's pretty wild, and it's really confusing when you start to trim it up. When you get in there and try to have a look around, it's just hard to tell what's going on. And some of the challenges in there are that some of those trunks have no leaves from the very bottom to the very top. So you got to be careful not to trim those top ones off thinking you've got some to spare, because it'll just die back all the way down to the bottom. And that'd be a big loss. So there's kind of a look at what's going on. So those are the branches that I've got working as grafts, just sort of coming out the middle of those trunks that are fusing together. So those I'm going to let continue to grow. I've got some on the side, some going through. It wasn't pretty or anything. I just basically wanted to get them to fuse to the trunk. I might still put some wire around that plumber's tape. I know it scars the bark a little bit if you don't catch it in time, but it sure works. I mean, it fuses fast with the wires on, so I actually didn't do that when I made this video. I'm only thinking of it just now, so I'll probably put some of that on in the meantime. So you can see at the bottom part, some of it is fusing together. And some of it still has a long way to go. So there's an example of where it is starting to fuse in certain spots here and there. But it's got a cool root base, and it's just got a lot of gnarly, cool character. So I like this one. This is a long-term project, but I like it. So before I get to work, I'm going to spray it down with water, the inside and everything. And the reason I'm doing that is because I know there's some aerial roots that are just starting to form in there. And when I take it out of the grow tent, they kind of are drama queens because they have these perfect conditions in the grow tent. It's perfect humidity, perfect warmth, perfect light. And you bring it out and it's just like they get wilty because of the harsh, fresh air. So I don't want to kill off the aerial roots while they're just forming. So spread it down. And then, keeping the long-term goal in mind, the strategy here is to just sort of nibble away at it a little bit just so I can see what's going on. The urge is to just sort of hack away at it. But since it's not one tree, it's like 20 individual trees, some of them fuse, some of them not. You gotta be sort of careful and make strategic cuts. So I'm just gonna nibble away at it here until I can get a better look at what's going on. I will say too, spoiler alert, it's not pretty right now. It's not gonna be pretty for a while. The end result today is not a finely tuned, refined looking tree. This is more of a tactical trim just to, I guess my reasoning for doing this too is I want to make sure that light can still get in there and penetrate so that new shoots can form. So this is an idea of kind of what I want it to look like, just a rough idea or something like this. That's the end goal, is for it to look kind of like that. As you can see, we've got a ways to go. We have branches crossing and a lot of things that need to be addressed at some point. But anyways, the reasoning for doing this is so that light can penetrate and get in there and new growth can happen in the right places. And I can sort of control where that happens, hopefully. The one thing I'm really working on is getting some new growth in that, I'd say that upper 3/4 part of the trunk where there were no leaves. Now, if I lived in a tropical area, I'd probably just leave it outside where it's basically the grow season all year long, and I would just let it grow wild and hack it back once in a while, maybe once a year. That's the fastest way. But alas, I do not. I live in zone 6B in Idaho, where we have long winters. The grow tent certainly helps, but the growth that you get in a grow tent is different. And anybody out there who's got one probably know what I mean. You will continue the growth, but it's a weaker growth. So whereas normally a leaf comes out and the stem is kind of green, and then a new leaf will come out, and then that first stem sort of turns brown and hardens off. In a grow tent, it won't. It'll grow 3, 4, 5 leaves out with that stem green the whole time. Because there's no wind, there's no rain, there's no harsh conditions to kind of, harden up the tree. It's just these perfect, delicate conditions, made for growth. So it just takes longer. It's a weaker growth, essentially. So now I'm just cleaning up some nubs. Still trying to make sense of that whole situation down there. I continue to root cuttings and put cuttings in there periodically just to help. Some of those spots are pretty hard to get to. But the inside of this is mostly hollow. At one point I was trying to fill it with cuttings, and I think I succeeded a little bit. There's maybe a couple of cuttings in there, but it's mostly hollow in there. And if you're interested, I have a playlist on this. I've got 4 or 5 videos since I first got it. The real backstory is that I bought it for $50 on Facebook Marketplace. And it was just somebody's tree that they said they had for, I want to say 25 or 30 years. And they think it was just some cuttings that were in a pot at one point that just grew and grew and grew and grew, which makes sense from the looks of it. And it just got so big that they couldn't see out of their window anymore, and didn't really mean much to them, oddly enough, so they sold it. So I came and scooped it up. So there's where I've got some more cuttings and branches weaving in and out of that middle part. See how messy and confusing it is in there? It's real hard to tell what's going on. You can kind of see some aerial roots right there. It's blurry, I couldn't get to focus because of everything going on in there. But it gives you an idea. But it's nice and healthy. The fact that it's popping growth out of everywhere is good. I was trying to demonstrate the taper that I'm going for. So like I said, it's not pretty right now. It is if you're looking at potential, then it's beautiful. Which that's what I tend to look at with trees. Oftentimes as I'm looking at a tree or even a bush, people think I'm nuts because I want to dig it up and make a bonsai out of it because I don't see it as pretty. But I look at it as potential. If you look at the potential of this tree, it has got beauty and opportunity all over it. Lots of healthy growth, lots of thick branches and trunks. It's just going to take time. So please like and subscribe, and you can follow me on this journey and some of the others and see how it goes between now and then and see how it turns out in the end. Appreciate everybody who does. Have a good rest of your day, everybody.